Hello, I'm Joan Kjaer, and this is WorldCanvass. Thank you for joining us tonight. This is the second program in a four-part series on the arts and human rights, a series we're calling The Arts as Vocabulary. We're coming to you from the Senate Chamber of the Old Capitol Museum on the campus of the University of Iowa, a beautiful space, and we invite you to join us here as a member of the live audience on some future occasion. We'd like to thank our partners, the Pentacrest Museums, KRUI, and the Hawkeye Network for supporting the program. In this series, we're looking at the arts as critical communicators on issues of human rights and freedom. And we're discussing the power of the arts, whether the performing arts or the creative arts, to influence our understanding of the world around us and perhaps challenge us in our comfort areas. Our guests in part one of the series discussed a year-long initiative at the University of Iowa that's called SOAR, Series on Arts and Rights, that will incorporate performance pieces that promote dialogue and critical thought, often on issues related to human rights. And in this segment, my guests and I are going to be focusing on performance and expression. And joining me here on stage are Charlotte Adams. Hi, Charlotte. Who's an associate professor in the Department of Dance. And Mary Traxel is next to Charlotte. Hi, Mary. Mary is an associate professor in the Department of Rhetoric. And on the end, we have Jennifer Brown, an instructor in the English as a Second Language program here at the university. Thank you, Jennifer, for coming. So Charlotte, let me turn first to you and talk a little bit about dance as performance and expression. You're a dancer, you're a choreographer, you're a teacher, you work with storytelling through dance and have for a long, long time telling your own stories and then observing what other choreographers and other dancers do to transmit whatever thoughts they want to share, whatever messages they might want to put behind their work. Could you just start at the beginning and tell us how a dancer begins to think about communicating ideas?
Sure. Well, it really begins with the body, and the thing that's wonderful about dance is that we all, as humans, live in our bodies, and we're actually quite good at picking up information from bodies that oftentimes we're not even aware of. It may be more unconscious. As I talk, I'm doing movements that probably have some type of meaning that help you pick up on the communication as well as the audience. And what we do as dance then is we look at it a little deeper. And I thought I could talk about it a little bit about like maybe the what, where, how of dance. And the what, of course, is the body that we all live in, and does communicate many things. And in dance, then also we have when it takes place, and that has to do with timing. So if I do a movement like this, you'll probably get some kind of image or some idea from that. But if I do it like this, you get something different. And all I did was change the timing, really. I changed the force as well. But the speed and the force can communicate things. And so in a simplified way, that's some of the things we play with in dance. Also, so I mentioned the how again. So if I take a movement that, comes this way, you'll get something different than if I do it like this. Yeah. So those things are choreography tools. And the other thing is that we work with is space, like where we are in space. So I was thinking as we were sitting watching that, you're the interviewer and we're being interviewed, but if I take my chair and I do this, everybody will get a real different feel about what's going up on the stage here. Or if I come over to Mary and I sit like this, and all those things in dance and movement help to form the language of dance. And of course, complex dances involve much more than that, but that's where we begin, really, in the studio.
Show your Iowa pride, the Iowa Hawk Shop, where Iowa shops. the ultimate collection of Iowa Hawkeye merchandise, gifts, and apparel. Help support the University of Iowa. All proceeds benefit men's and women's athletic teams and student programs. The Iowa Hawk Shop, where Iowa shops. Show your Iowa pride. Call 1-800-HAWK-SHOP or visit www.hawkshop.com.
This series explores topics that are international in scope and central to our understanding of how individuals fit into our global landscape. Watch WorldCanvass on the Hawkeye Network.
So if you wanted to tell a story that was a story of displacement or, slavery, terrible brutality somewhere, what are the kinds of what are the tools you would employ to tell that story?
Well, there's many things, and many of them start, I personally like to start with the body. And you can start with, gesture or, or posture, and develop a movement language that seems to communicate whatever that may be. If some, horrible human rights issues often take a real toll on the psyche and the body, and you can read that in someone's body as well. So we might utilize that as a beginning point with the movement, and then if a narrative is going to come about, the other thing that we do is think about a structure, like where in space we might place the main character and how the others do or do not interact with them. And that can be all through the physical body, or how they touch them, or how they don't look at them. All those things will communicate through dance. And then of course music is also another aspect often used in dance that can really help set the tone. And so what you get really, even if it's, whether it's narrative or if it's an abstract piece, you start to get layers of meaning that oftentimes I think good art really taps deeper into place even beyond words. And can hit you at a powerful level.
Mm-hmm. And so, as we've all seen, and you just mentioned, there are some pieces that will have a story that seems somewhat easy to follow, perhaps,
right,
or the notes. And then there are other more abstract pieces where the choreographer may have something fairly specific in mind, but may leave the interpretation almost entirely up to the audience,
right,
other than maybe a title. How do you think that through when you're putting a piece together, you're naming it, you're working with your dancers? Is it important to you as the artist that every audience member get exactly the same thing out of it that you're trying to put into it when you're creating it?
Well, I really work in a more in the contemporary way, and usually non-narrative, but I have worked, so if I'm doing a narrative piece, I really want to help the audience come along with me, and I will give clear ways to get there. A piece I did last year called Beyond Anatomy. It was important for me, for the audience, to be able to take that ride all the way through, even though, again, it was somewhat abstract, but there was more information that was linear for me. right now I'm working on a piece that has to do with falling and recovering, striving, and getting back up again. And it's very abstract, and I'm really working with just the elements of movement there to relate that, and also a videographer. And in that I hope that that the layers of meaning will come through and audiences can really relate to it and get, take from it what they can. Like one dancer told me in my initial showing that it really almost made her feel sick to her stomach because of the video, and then also the hard driving dancing and the striving, the struggle. And I hadn't really even thought that, and so I think that's the other beautiful thing about dance or abstract art can do that often too, where we respond to it on different levels from our own experience.
Well, then, just one other thing quickly. Dance is obviously a human reality in whatever culture. It seems that people have movements that are natural to their own environments and things that we might not even necessarily think of as dance, but they are maybe ritual movements or whatever that mean something to the people there.
Absolutely.
How much of that outside of our own U.S. culture do you bring into something you might create?
Almost everything that I see, I think all artists do bring those into their work. Visual art really impacts the way I work oftentimes. I love to use writing and writing tools with dancers and for myself too. And then the moment I'm exposed to a new form of dance and take it into my body, it's residing there and it can come out in the most surprising ways. So, and that's what's great about working with a variety of dancers as well, because they bring their experience from different countries, from different backgrounds.
And do you take feedback from your dancers when you've got the main piece laid out, but you're refining it, you're working on it? If the dancers, I suppose if there's a movement they're having a bad time with, then you would try to address that. But in terms of the interpretation of something you're doing, do your dancers ever feel that they can give you that kind of feedback?
Oh, yes. A newer way of working, or not so new anymore, but is really having the dancers as collaborative partners. And I will, sometimes I'm in the studio and I actually am not really sure what I've created. And so I'll ask them, well, how did that feel? Is there another way we might do this to get at this thing that we're talking about? And I feel that they feel very willing to contribute to that, and then often help me see, so that I can step forward and, and see what is it I really am doing, or what we're all doing together.
No, that's great. And so some of the dance performances this year will have a human rights theme to them.
Absolutely.
By specific design.
Right.
Yeah.
Presently, just the beginning stages of a project involving water is something I'm working on with colleague Jennifer Kjaer. But that'll be a bit in the future, maybe the next year or so.
Wonderful. So that's Charlotte Adams. Thank you, Charlotte. And now I'd like to talk to Mary Traxel and Jennifer Brown a little bit about some projects you are working on and have been involved with for a very long time at the Oakdale Correctional Facility, part of the Department of Corrections here in Iowa. It's, I think, a medical classification center, but there are inside folks, I believe is the way we refer to them, and there are community members who cooperate on a community choir, and you two lead writing classes for some of the insiders at Oakdale. So could we talk first about the choir? I know you've both been involved as community members with the choir for many, many years. Could you tell us when it started, how it started, and why, really? Mary, I'll go to you first.
I believe it's 5 years that the choir has been in existence. It was started by Mary Cohen from the Department of Music and Education. And this has been a research interest of hers as well as a human rights interest, bringing arts into prisons. So Jen and I were both charter members of the IMCC choir. I believe we call it the IMCC Community Choir. Mm-hmm. And it's composed of community members as well as inside singers. So we call ourselves outside singers and inside singers. Mm-hmm. And we rehearse once a week. We put on performances for other inmates, as well as a separate performance for community members, family members of the inside singers and the outside singers. Sometimes we have university people there, Iowa politicians.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the idea behind this is simply to bring a coherent structure of something artistic, something beyond the prison experience to the lives of these inside singers?
I think it is, in large part, community art. I mean, it is forming a community with an artistic project mm-hmm. and an artistic language that we use to communicate with one another. I wasn't aware until I became a member of the choir how important the arts are inside of prisons. Because it really is a freedom issue, because the arts provide them with a way of escape. Mm-hmm. I remember one time when we were rehearsing a song that was written by one of the inside singers, and I was walking my dog through my neighborhood one morning, and I was singing, I was humming this song that had been written by somebody in prison, and my neighbor heard me and said, "Oh, that's a nice song." And I was thinking, this guy is in prison, and yet, the language of his heart is out in the world. And that has happened with, people using music from the prison in performances, outside of the prison, wedding ceremonies, funerals.
Wow. Wow. And what has your experience been like, Jen, as part of the choir?
My first experience walking in, originally I was not sure exactly how it was going to work. I had never been inside a prison before. And I walked in the door to the testing room, which is what we use for our practices. And I thought, they're Iowans. That's how we basically related through the entire 5 years mm-hmm. that we've been doing this. We are friends who meet once a week and do something together. A couple years ago, Mary Cohen introduced the term musicking as the idea of creating music together, and that's exactly what we do. We create something as a part of a functional community that we build skill together. Sometimes we work on individual skills, sometimes we just attain them through practice and listening to each other. That's one of the things that if you're not sure what your note is, you have 2 ears, 1 mouth, listen to your neighbors and try to blend and things like that. So I think the productivity and the creativity is an outlet for doing something that they can't do every day and they can't do by themselves. Being able to do it with both inside and outside singers enables them to reach a level of expression that they would otherwise not be available.
And what's the value to the two of you as community members, as outsiders? What does it do for you?
It was tremendously eye-opening for me. Like Jen, I had never been in a prison before this. So my only knowledge of the prison population came through sensational stories and, TV dramas and that sort of thing. So it was an opportunity to sit next to people, to sing together, listen to our voices together. Mary Cohen, from the very beginning, wanted there to be a writing component to the choir. And I got involved with that. We would have weekly writing prompts, and then we would have an exchange. It was a way for people, for insiders and outsiders to get to know each other a little bit better. We don't have a whole lot of time to talk when we're rehearsing. The women are all together in the alto section and in the soprano section, and so this was a way to sort of introduce us and help us get to know one another even better. And it was from that we developed the writing workshop as a separate, it's not really writing classes, it really is a workshop, and like the choir, it involves community writers and inside writers who become audiences for one another's writing, and we give each other feedback.
And any kind of writing is okay?
Any kind goes, and we've had a wide variety.
Yes.
We've had sermons, plays, short
column?
stories, many novels, an advice column, a musical,
Poetry.
a lot of songs.
Yeah.
Show your Iowa pride, the Iowa Hawk Shop, where Iowa shops. The ultimate collection of Iowa Hawkeye merchandise, gifts, and apparel. Help support the University of Iowa. All proceeds benefit men's and women's athletic teams and student programs. The Iowa Hawk Shop, where Iowa shops. Show your Iowa pride. Call 1-800-HAWK-SHOP or visit www.hawkshop.com.
Tradition.
Ambition.
Exploration, inspiration.
You feel it when you step on campus at the University of Iowa.
The energy and pride of students inspired by our history.
And excited about our future. When you join the Hawkeye family, you're a part of it all.
Be a part of it.
Be a part of it.
Be a part of it. Be a Hawkeye.
Yeah, what do the inmates tell you, the inside writers, what do they tell you this opportunity to write and be heard by other people means for them? What does it give them?
They mentioned, or we asked them, what is this, why do you keep coming back, basically? And they said that the first thing was that they have dreams. Some of them have dreams to be in a creative profession or a hobby when they get out, and this is a place where they can hone the skills for those or simply express whatever dream that they have. And it's also a place to be productive and positive when so much of their environment is negative. And a place to unlearn. Many of them were told that they were not talented, that they were not, their writing was bad. Their English teachers told them, gave them Fs. But they're learning that they are capable of good writing and in a positive way. So unlearning a lot of negative habits, replacing them with positive habits. Again, in a supportive setting. They're also learning to think critically about not only their own work, but also other people's work. The format that we use is everybody has a couple of pages of whatever it is that they're bringing, and they read it, and then we go around the circle, first to the left and then to the right, and give feedback. And you know, when people first start it, they're usually, I liked it, with that I'll pass, is a phrase that we hear a lot sometimes. But after they get into the rhythm of it and they hear how the other inside guys respond as well, they start to bring unique perspectives. And it's always great when somebody starts commenting for the first time.
Yeah. And are some of the insiders, they've been there for some period of time, or some of these people, folks you've worked with for a long, long time? Do you feel a friendship develops?
Of course, yeah. I think that you come to know people when you're sharing writing. Many of them are writing poetry in which they're trying to express, you know, very deep feelings about their situations, about their past, about their hopes for the future. And I think that there's a kind of intimacy and mutuality that develops in that kind of a community. I also think that one of the benefits to the insiders as well as to us is the way imaginative writing allows you to practice empathy. Just this last week, we looked at a song that one of the inmates had written, and he was hearing a woman singer's voice, a particular woman singer that I wasn't familiar with, but the song was about, the setup was this woman talking to a woman friend about an abusive relationship. And I thought, what a remarkable move that was for this male inmate to imagine women talking together, you know, just a communication between women. So I think that, you know, it's a way of stretching yourself through the imagination.
And I suppose there isn't any direct dialogue about what a particular person was arrested for. This is just about who I am now and what my thoughts are now. And
It's against the volunteering regulations. We can't have direct exchange about their criminal record or where we live or things like that. But a lot of them also put their story into a fictionalized format. So they'll write a fictional story about this other guy and put elements of their own life into it, which is a time-honored method of immortalizing your experiences to put into a myth, basically. And I think that it's wonderful that they're discovering that themselves and they can put it to such good use. And I think we also contribute writing. And when we all put ourselves out there, there is a level of trust that is reached, and when they leave, it's kind of awful.
Yeah.
I mean, very bittersweet, because it's good that they're going on to treatment and to freedom, but
yeah. Wow, well, I wish we could talk a little longer about all of this, but I want to say a big thank you to Charlotte Adams from the Department of Dance, Mary Traxel, thank you to you, and thank you, Jen Brown, for sharing with us what you do, and so many other people do with the Oakdale Insiders, and I understand that it is possible, if someone hearing this program is interested in getting involved, it is possible to perhaps help teach or sing in the choir and make yourself known.
Absolutely, yeah. There's always a need for volunteers at the prison.
Great. Well, thank you all so much. I appreciate it very much. You've been listening to WorldCanvass. This was the second program in a series of 4 programs on the theme, The Arts as Vocabulary. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Joan Kjaer, and we'll see you next time.